Inside the top secret Payless Liquors Culinary Garage, we've got a very special guest today. Scottie Neal is with us. Not only is he an American hero, but he is also the chief of operations at the American Freedom Distillery.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And this is your baby. This is your product.
Horse Soldier Bourbon. It is. We started this kind of adventure 5 years ago. We all retired out of the Special Forces. We're looking for.
Yeah, start right there because you say we. We is a group of heroes that went into Afghanistan. You were the first fighting forces after 9/11, and we didn't know you then, but thank goodness.
Well, thank you very much.
Some great work, and we know you guys.
Well, the story started coming out because of a book that was written in 2007. So think about 2001, 9/11 happens. Everybody remembers it. It was kind of this generation's D-Day, right? Mm-hmm. And so we were oriented to always be in the Middle East in case something happened. So we were naturally some of the first Green Berets that were called. We went into Uzbekistan first, staged out of there, and then eventually into Afghanistan. And as the label says, Horse Soldiers, we linked up with Mujahideen fighters wherever we could in the mountains of Afghanistan, kind of in the southern area, and a lot of them were on horseback, right? And that's how they were evading the Taliban tanks, because they had all the Russian tanks. So eventually, we were very successful. In less than 90 days, 90 Green Berets had overtaken Afghanistan, and that was back in the early days of 2002. And then we came home. The same group of guys went to Iraq. During Iraq, we came home. The same group of guys went to Africa. So we've been fighting the war on terrorism for a lot of years.
And being a Special Forces guy, 25 years in there.
Yes.
I imagine it would be nice to do something different than what you already know, but that's a huge step to get into bourbon.
So, but if you think about it, a lot of veterans have been coming home, right? Since the Revolutionary War, War of 1812, Civil War, veterans have come home and they've reintegrated in society, and there's a long history in the bourbon community of veterans coming home. So a lot of the popular brands you drink today were started by veterans, or they were the head distillers, or they went back into factories. So as we began, to think, what should we do when we grow up? Basically, we're 50 years old. It's time for the next stage of our lives. We found ourselves on one side of the bar, and we thought, I wonder how you make it. And so we started traveling all over the country, from every craft distillery that we could find, to going to Scotland and learning in Scotland, to training in Ireland, to training in Mexico, everywhere. It's like learning kung fu. And we started producing bourbon 5 years ago before the movie even came out. And so it's been going good.
All right. Now, you are the chief of operations.
Yes.
So you've got, soup to nuts, right?
Everything inside the bottle, right? So myself, Coco, and Elizabeth, the kind of founding members and everything. Elizabeth does everything beautiful in a bottle. This is a family-owned business. If you look at our labels, if they're crooked, it's because our kids put them on wrong.
Is that right?
Yes. So our sons and daughters work here. There's probably 5 or 6 of us that serve together, are the founding members, and everything we do it ourselves, right? We're not some kind of Madison Avenue marketing trick or whatever. This really is us, all of our heart and soul. So Elizabeth designed everything beautiful, to our metal labels, to the toppers, the challenge coin on top, just everything beautiful. I'm focused on what's inside, what really makes you smile when you drink bourbon, right?
So the discipline that you have being a member of the military and doing this, talk about some of the similarities that you have to have.
So on the production side, it is about consistency, right? And military organization, what time do you get up in the morning? How do you turn the lights on? How do you turn the boilers on, the chillers? Everything's about precision, because as you build a brand 5 years from now, 10 years, your customer expects the same quality and taste. So you have to be very precise. It's almost like you're a drill sergeant in the production room, how things just flow like that. All the way down to the quality control. I was just looking at the new toppers we had.
Right.
Why? Because they didn't cover the top enough earlier on. So everything we do, we're always making adjustments and changes, just like the military. So how do you be adaptive and unique in the business? We were the first ones in the bourbon community really to have a metal label, and the challenges of the glue, how does a machine apply it, all of these factors, we took it on because nobody else took it on in the bourbon community, but we were able to solve that problem. Another unique thing is the molds molds that form these bottles are from World Trade Center steel. So a lot of hidden kind of subtle things about our past, about America's past, are all represented in this bottle. But at the end of the day, you have to pull the cork and you have to like it. Mm-hmm. And that's what I focus on.
And I like the fact that, like anything, you get good at whatever you are going to do before you expand into that. And we started with 3 different levels. So talk about that, and we've expanded into some others I want to talk about.
Right. So you start with the basic one, which is our straight bourbon right here. This is our straight bourbon. It was our entry point, and it's a little bit of a rye bourbon. So as we were talking to bartenders all around the country, you know, having the best Manhattan, having an old fashioned, you know, they talked about how rye really comes out in mixed drinks. So we thought, okay, we needed a rye bourbon. So we tasted many formulas and calculations. We must have had hundreds of bottles from every brand across the country saying, okay, what did we like about this and that before we finally came out with a mash bill. This one here with the silver label is our barrel strength, but it's more of a wheated bourbon. And why wheat? So wheat is just like your bread. Wheat is sweet, whereas rye is a little spicier and pepperier. It's the same thing as it comes through in your bourbon. So wheat is, I like to call this little victory. Something after the battle's over and you've won, you're smoking a cigar. A wheated bourbon is just smooth, right? Whereas the rye is charge. You want to spice it up, you're ready to go. Have a little bit of rye in your cocktail, or if you want it straight or neat. What's also unique is ladies. Ladies are interested in finding out how bourbons, you know, kind of tickle their palates. So we have a lot of bourbon tasting for ladies because they're used to fine wines, different places and locations, and you start getting them into bourbon and nosing and tasting, and they become surprised what they like as well.
All right, so if you get the start of the fight, here's the victory. What do you call the Commander?
The Commander Select.
Top of the line, and it is awesome.
Top of the line. So as we were going through Kentucky and we were learning, so say this month is learning about warehousing, right? The barrels in front of us, what type of wood, what type of char, how they stored. Some, you know, store them up right. Some are traditional rick houses, 50,000 in a rick house. So we learned everything, and then we said, well, we've chosen a wheated mash bill and a rye mash bill. Well, come here. This is what a 5-year-old will taste like. This is a 10-year-old. This is a 15-year-old, and you just learn from these masters in the warehouse what aging and maturation does in the warehouse. And finally, we're like, I wish one day mine would be that good. Why is that? Well, you know, we had this charity aspect. We're a group of veterans, and we're asked all the time, will you please talk about your experience? Can you help us raise money? I myself worked for the Green Beret Foundation. So we wanted a bottle that then we could lead into charity activities, a golf event, a VFW or something. So born was Commander's Select. We didn't make it, but we were allowed into warehouses, just like a barrel pick, but some of the rarest bourbons that people do not get access to. And we said we would love to take that and turn it into a series, Commander Select, and the proceeds either go to the statue at Ground Zero, which is the image on the bottle, right, the America's Response Monument, or we would appear at a charity event, and we would tell the story, right? We would do a tasting, and some of these bottles would raise up to $15,000. So for us, that's a series we call Commander Select, and what you're doing is you're getting something we selected, but you get more of the giving back very directly to those charities we're involved in.
And I know that's still very near and dear to your heart and the folks on the team.
It is. You know, we still have a lot of brothers and sisters in combat. My son just returned from a year in Afghanistan, right? Matter of fact, today I have somebody retiring at the distillery.
Oh, that's
so we're very involved. You never leave it. Just like a Marine, you're always a Marine. If you're a veteran, you always care about what's going on in your community. And sometimes you have a voice, and for whatever reason, people, you know, like the Horse Soldiers, they love the movie, or they wish they could have been the first one. We help channel that into fundraising efforts, and that's what we do with the Commander Select.
Well, and you mentioned that there is a Barrel Select program,
yes,
and Payless Liquors has got two. Yes. Barrel 141 and Barrel 109. I was lucky enough to be in that group that got to select it, and I'm telling you what, it was not easy selecting the best of the best, but it kind of like military service. You got to have the best of the best.
It is.
It's fun.
And it's a beautiful presentation box, like we go overboard, right? If you're going to do it right. So from the time we select all of the barrels and we make sure that they're ready, to how they're presented in the selection box, to how Brian, our Horse Soldier rep here in Indiana, brings it and sits everybody down and takes notes and go through the tasting, then how we dump in the barrel and make sure you've got everything out of the barrel that you can, for us is kind of a journey. And we hope it's the same way for you and all the customers, is you pick that bottle and you sit down and you have it long enough to have a good story along with it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the good thing is, a lot of you guys are based in Tampa.
Yep.
You're making your way north. You're building in Kentucky, so it won't be too long. How soon till we get things going? So we can actually visit you in Kentucky?
Imagine the journey. And if you did see the movie 12 Strong, it started with guys coming out of the Cumberland, right? So it was Tuesday. We were doing some training at night. They were coming in on river rafts, and poof, 9/11 happens. Well, we found a piece of property in Kentucky. It's on the Cumberland. And so think the circle of life. We started this new business. We're now retired, and finally we're coming home. It'll take about 3 years to build. We're going to make a brand new, modern 3 million gallon facility. Wow. And the architect firm we chosen is out of England, and they just finished Macallan's new distillery.
Wow.
So a lot of not only traditional Kentucky architecture, but some modern aspects as well, right? Because Green Berets are high speed, low drag. And then overlooking the Cumberland, it's the houseboat capital of the world. It'll be the first distillery you can pull up your houseboat or boat and go into the distillery.
Outstanding. Well, we'll help you with that.
Well,
I promise.
thank you.
We'll get into Payless Liquors. We'll get all different levels, but specifically to those two barrel selects are absolutely sensational.
So good.
We had a group of people select them. Ladies were included in this group too. And like you said, I think it's forever. The story is fantastic. The bourbon maybe, well, I won't say the bourbon's even better.
And I think, one thing we've been doing is a virtual whiskey and war stories, and we'd like to get everybody together online, and we would tell the history of horse soldiers. I've got videos that's never really been seen before, and I bring you through the whole story of why transition's important and how we discovered bourbon and what we wanted to do for the rest of our lives.
Well, if you haven't tried Horse Soldier Bourbon yet, get on board with Scottie Neal and his group, because it's absolutely fantastic, and you can get all that product at Payless Liquors, 26 locations.